When my eyes go up, that's because I'm reading.
Hey, Rod's just telling us that when his eyes go up, he's reading, so that's good to see.
Yes,
We'll assume that's only when he's on the computer and not at other times.
not other
So welcome
time.
along. Hopefully you're watching. We've been working through the Here to Stay material, and this week we're looking at mentors and coaches, um, which, yeah, I always think is a wonderful part of ministry, that sense of how do we not just have kids involved in our programs, but how do we get them to walk alongside people to walk alongside them. We've said it before, particularly out of, I've just got here to stay in my brain and it's not here to stay. The comes in growing younger, but it's the one before that, sticky faith,
Yeah.
really came up with the research that we need to flip our leader to adult to child ratio around. Instead of thinking, one adult to every 3 or 4 children, to be thinking every child needs 3 or 4 significant adults within the congregation who are connecting with them. And obviously, one of those people, it would be wonderful if they are a mentor or a coach. So the Here to Stay stuff that Rod can read when he puts his eyes up says life is not meant to be journeyed alone, but together in community. The challenge of mentoring and coaching is that it requires time to listen, time to be encouraging, time to be available, and time to be accepting. It requires time. Time is precious today, but spending time walking with someone else is what we are called to do, which is interesting because I know one of the guys that I used to mentor back in Newcastle, generally when we mentored, we would go for a walk. Because, yes, it's being that aware of some people, I'm an active person, so let's talk while we walk. That's going to do you better than, it's either that or you went to a cafe and had drinks and food. That's the other way of doing mentoring. Food or exercise, that's good. And I guess, yeah, it's something that I've talked a lot about in the last few years and we really haven't got anywhere with. But I'd love to see us really getting into some mentoring coaching. Rod, they do some mentoring stuff through brigades, don't they?
Yep, particularly following or leading up to and following leadership. The leaders are very much mentoring that, and obviously, as we have our leaders with their promotion, the young leaders with their promotions to different what we would refer to as ranks, that they're in that case it's probably more coached if you can really differentiate between mentoring and coaching, but if that is helping them along in a specific tasks, but after leadership, both internal to the company and external just to leadership as a whole, having mentors, yes, very significant aspect of it.
Yes,
which is good. And very much obviously BB's picked up the needing or wanting multiple people to be in the boys' lives, giving them alternatives, and being the one there rather than it be someone else, which would be less desirable for their Christian growth. To be able to be there, whether it's the church or whether it's just brigade activities.
Yeah. And I know Kylie's done some mentoring with some of the Girls Brigade leaders as they've sort of gone through the process of becoming formal inducted leaders. So, yeah, so it's good to see it's happening there, but how do we sort of broaden it out to the whole of our young people is sort of the next challenge, I think, for us. And, yeah, I guess for me, sometimes I think people might get scared of mentoring. One, from the young person, I don't know what this is. Why am I meeting with this other person? And from an older, the mentor type perspective, I think sometimes people might get scared of, I don't have all the answers. And of course, the answer to that is none of us do, and you're not meant to. Forgetting which book it is, but I think it's Kenda Creasy Dean talks about young people aren't looking for the people who have the answers. They're looking for people who will explore the questions with them. So yes, sometimes that's our challenge of actually shut up and don't give an answer, but just walk the journey with them. And I think good mentoring, and as we set up our our program type stuff. Good mentoring, you commit for a year. And in that sense of after a year, you might go, this is going really well. Let's commit to another year. Or you might go, we just didn't gel as people, because sometimes, you might think, hey, this is going to be really good, and just something about the relationship doesn't gel, and you go, cool, you're free to go and find someone else to mentor, and I'll go and find someone else to be a mentee, and we'll do all those sorts of things. So being open to it's not scary. Have you ever done any mentoring with people, Rod?
We were about to start a couple of years ago, Richard.
We were.
That didn't kick off, and I wonder whether the I know it's slightly off track, but the praying, specifically praying for young people, would be a good introduction to that. Not necessarily pick up that same person, although it might be opportunity, but that just brings the adult closer to thinking about the people who aren't necessarily that young, or maybe they are very young, depending on how they're matched up, of course. That might start to bring a few people into that, wanting to get that bit further. And can I share my doubts maybe a bit too strong a word, my doubts and challenges with those who are asking the question?
Yes,
that would be a good way.
Definitely that. And the program was, for those that are watching later, Pray For Me, which encourages.
What do you mean the program was? It still is, isn't it? I'm still doing it.
I'm hoping next year we'll do a big relaunch sort of, and really connect people well in. But yes, there are some people that are still being good and praying for their people. Good, well done, Rod. Pray For Me, which takes sort of 3 adults to pray for a young person or a young family in the church day by day, and gives you ideas of what or things that you can pray for them about. So again, not scary. I don't have to make all this up, but connects in. And yes, can actually absolutely be that relationship might draw into a mentoring, or again, that might be you have your mentor, you have your person or your 3 people who pray for me, and now you've got 4 people surrounding you. Look at that, wonderful adult to child ratio sort of thing. So and yes, we were planning on, or we did some intro session end of 2021 possibly, and yes, life has been chaotic ever since.
I thought maybe it was end of 20 when we just had that. We got over a bit of COVID. It was a long time ago, but yes.
Life has been rather hectic and chaotic and all over the place since whenever we did that. And how do we do that more? It's been good to hear at least one of our young people has said that one of the Boys Brigade leaders is mentoring him. So that's good. But yes, how do we connect that because not doing the whole, but they're not from our church, but they're not from our church. And how do we do that well with our church people, so that they're building relationships into Southside and connecting there is the challenge. But yes, step by step by step. I guess for me, there's been a number of people that I've mentored through Newcastle. So there's probably 4 main ones that I mentored. One of which mentored for about a year. They came and did work experience with me. They were keen into ministry, and then they walked away from the faith. It's like, oh, well, I did a good job there, didn't I? But yes, having that space, and continue when I remember him to pray for him, that he'll remember that fire and enthusiasm he had. But that's again that encouragement of us of it's not all about us, and it may not all go wonderfully and smoothly, and yay, this person has learned all these things from me, but you're on the journey with them, wherever that might go, and accepting with it.
And that's probably when we get the mentors, a group of them together, that they understand that.
Yeah.
that dream world of this young person became that fine, outstanding older person may not be what actually happens. It may just continue to be a wonderful young person and
Yep.
no noticeable difference.
Yep.
Which is God's plan anyway, I guess. So
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And is that continual reminder in all of our ministry? It's not us doing and has to do it. We're just what the Holy Spirit and God uses. So we don't have to get caught up. Because yes, sometimes I think we can beat ourselves around the head and stuff and I failed and
or worse, you failed.
yes.
Someone else saying that to you.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely wiping you out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Inappropriately. Yeah.
We'd never have people in the church do that, would we?
Not at Southside, I hope.
Yes. I was saying to Rod before we were meeting with Paul Yarrow today, Rod, Jock and I, to talk about some various things, and I was actually saying that it's encouraging in Southside, like we haven't necessarily heard the comments about the family service of, so when are they going to come into the Sunday morning service? And we haven't really heard but they're going to the family service and not to Sunday out church. They're moving from church on Sunday morning to the family service. So that's positive. That suggests Southside is seeing that as a legitimate church service and stuff like that. But so yes, we have none of that negative talk at Southside.
Good.
Which again, getting sidetracked, reminds me of in RI today, we were talking about, Genesis 2 and Adam and Eve and eating the fruit and making bad choices. And then the question of how can you make the world a better place? And of course, the kids were coming up with, you pet the dog and those sorts of things. And it's like, come up with something you can actually. So I said to them, one of my things that I always hold on to, and you may have heard me waffle on this before, but that sense of in Australia, we have that idea that, well, if I'm picking on you, then it shows I love you. We rib each other, we put each other down, and that shows. And I said, what I try to do is encourage people. And how about we build people up as opposed to cutting them down and show them we love them that way? That might make a world a better place than tall poppy syndromes and things like that. Which is a wonderful thing for a mentor to do, to build the young person up. See, I got us back.
Yep. It will probably be reversed back on you as well, build you up by you building them. So
absolutely, yes.
Something to look forward to.
Yes. So keep an eye out. If you're watching, we're going to try and connect some mentoring stuff in and get those relationships starting to build. And I think I've said it before, it would be wonderful if everyone in Southside had a mentor. It doesn't just have to be the young people, but every one of us needs someone who's a bit further along in the faith just to talk through life and faith. Struggling with this, what do you think? Not necessarily having the answers, but there to listen. Well, I might let Rod have a slightly early mark.
Well, I've got to go straight to something. So
that's right. You've got to
give me a chance to dash into the family room with the iPad in hand.
Awesome. Yep. So thank you for joining us, Rod. Thank you for joining us at other times, everybody else, and we will catch you soon. Bye.
Very good. Thanks, Richard.
Take care, Rod.